Whether you believe in God or not, this surely is a vision of hell. Israel's latest terrifying tactic, detonating vehicles packed with powerful explosives. The atrocities in Gaza are so relentless, it's hard to keep pace. Here, the aftermath of a strike on a building sheltering displaced families in Gaza City. How to make sense of such devastating violence? Your head filled with the buzz of Israeli drones overhead.
We pulled my cousin out from under the rubble, and my grandmother was sitting here. May God have mercy on her. She was killed. I was inside, and God protected me. There were 3 missiles, falling one after another, shaking the walls. I had been sleeping inside, and my father came and pulled me out.
Bodies torn apart and scraps of flesh are carried away for burial. A UN inquiry, amongst others, calls this genocide. Israeli flyers dropped from the sky insist only Hamas members are being targeted, warning residents to flee the city. Hundreds of thousands have, however they can. A ride in a truck costs hundreds of dollars. So does a tent. But staying put doesn't seem an option.
A quadcopter came to us last night at sunset. They ordered us to leave, or else they'd bring the houses down on us.
We ran out with nothing at all. As you can see, our belongings were left scattered until people pulled them for us on a cart. No matter how much you talk or cry, it doesn't convey what's in the heart.
A world away from the bombs, the man who could stop the war with a single phone call met with Muslim leaders last night.
It was a very successful meeting with all of the big players, except for Israel, but that's going to be next, and I think we can work something out on Gaza.
President Trump presented a proposal to end the conflict and prevent Israeli annexation of the West Bank, though there are few other details. In Israel today, a rare reminder the country's formidable air defences are not impenetrable. A drone fired by the Houthis in Yemen, injuring multiple people in the city of Eilat. Back in Gaza, there's so much to grieve, so many to mourn, and for now at least, such little hope that tomorrow will be any different.
Well, earlier I spoke to Jay Matthews, a theatre nurse who is currently working in a field hospital in Al-Mawasi, run by the British charity UK Med. He described how conditions have deteriorated during recent weeks.
We're being pushed to our limits in the amount of patients we can receive. Our numbers have gone up and up over the last 3 to 4 weeks. We're seeing over 800 patients a day for minor injuries and GP services, 150 to 160 patients a day in A&E, and we're operating all day, every day. It's relentless in terms of the amount of work that we have to do.
And are there any particular stories that stand out for you that, you know, of patients who you remember being particularly struck by?
There's been a couple of children that have come through who have required quite extensive surgery, abdominal surgery. So they've been really unwell, and they have fought really hard despite the lack of food and nutrition. They've come in extremely small. You don't believe that they're the age they are because they look like they should be a lot younger. It's incredibly difficult. And it's not just the patients either, it's the staff. So we have our staff nurse, Mahmoud. He had to leave urgently 2 weeks ago for an evacuation order. So he went to go and help his family. And by the time he got there, his father and brother had been killed. And he's in work 3 days later supporting these children.
It's your third time there, I believe. How's it compared to your previous visits?
Everything is a lot worse. Nutrition for the people is a lot worse. And our resources are critically low.
You're talking about medical resources now?
Yes, sorry, yeah. So we have no bandages, no painkillers, no needles, no nothing is here, no surgical equipment is broken.
How do you manage without the equipment, as you've described? I mean, when you're trying to do, for example, amputations.
You have to use equipment that's not ideal. You have to make sure that the items we do have, we make good use of. It means that you have to be very selective in who gets what in terms of care, which is not ideal. And, you know, when you're looking at not having appropriate bandages, it's really hard to keep infection away. And I spoke about painkillers a minute ago. Imagine having an amputation and only being offered paracetamol as a painkiller for afterwards. You know, it's something that people take for a mild headache around the world.
Have you got anaesthetic to do operations like amputations, for example?
We have minimal amounts of anaesthetic, but we do not have any analgesia, so painkillers. So we can put someone to sleep, for instance, but we can't offer them good pain relief, so they wake up in agony. And that is part of the problem. And that delays healing, it delays the process. It's extremely traumatic. These people have just been either shot or been in an explosion, just lost people, and then they have to go through all this pain again. It's extremely psychologically traumatic as well as physically traumatic for the staff, the patients, and everyone that's involved.
How do children handle that kind of pain?
Some of them don't. There are children that will see you in the morning and they know you'll be looking at their wound, and they will just start screaming. You don't do anything, you just walk in the room and they just start screaming. They can't psychologically or physically manage what they're going through. It's extremely traumatic, and they'll be left with those scars forever. It's just awful.
And how do you handle that, given that your job is to ease people's pain? You know, psychologically, it must have an effect on you too.
I take solace in myself that I'm giving them as much of my time as possible, and just making sure that we can offer the most possible to them, and that they understand we're doing everything we can to support them.
Jay Matthews, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.